Welcome to Cost Saver Conversations. I'm Angela, and I ask the practical questions so you can quickly understand what matters. Today, I'm joined with Assad.
Hi, Angela. We are unpacking UK flood risk and insurance, the myths that could cost you thousands today, and tying it back to the wider cost saver ecosystem, including tools like UK Flood Risk and Insurance Impact Checker, postcode, so you can turn insights into action quickly.
Just a heads up before we dive in, we are your synthetic hosts. We are great with numbers, but as AI, we can sometimes be confidently wrong. Think of us as the digital versions of your most knowledgeable, slightly caffeinated friends.
Exactly. Treat this chat as a smart estimate only, not as professional financial guidance. Always check important details with official sources or a qualified expert before making any big decisions.
Welcome back to the Cost Saver Podcast. Today, we're getting into something that I think most of us just sort of gloss over, flood risk. And Assad, the title of this one, UK Flood Risk and Insurance, the myths that could cost you thousands, I mean, that's not messing around.
No, it's a pretty blunt title, but honestly, it needs to be because most people, when they think about flooding in the UK, they've got this image in their head of like a river bursting its banks somewhere in the countryside, sandbags outside a cottage. You know the one.
That's literally what I picture, like a little Georgian cottage with wellies by the door. Not my street in not an urban semi, you know?
Right, and that's exactly the problem. That image is real, it happens, but it is nowhere near the full picture anymore. The Environmental Agency estimates something like 5.7 million properties in England alone are at some level of flood risk. And here's the thing, the fastest growing category isn't even river flooding.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
So what is it then? What's actually driving it?
surface water flooding. Sometimes they call it pluvial flooding or flash flooding. It's basically when rainfall just overwhelms the drainage and water pools on the ground. And it can happen miles from any river, literally miles.
Miles. So like middle of a town? Middle of a city?
Absolutely. The Environment Agency estimates around 3.2 million properties in England are at risk from surface water flooding alone, which is, and this is the bit that gets people, that's actually more than are at risk from rivers and the sea combined.
Oh, I did not know that. That's a lot.
It really is. And the reasons are sort of, well, they stack up. Climate change pushing rainfall intensity up, urbanization pouring concrete over natural drainage, and then you've got Victorian sewer systems that were just never designed for the kind of storms we get now in July and August.
And I suppose all those paved over front gardens don't help either.
Exactly. Tarmac driveways, patios, it all funnels water into drains that are already overloaded. London 2021 was the textbook example. Homes in Kilburn, Battersea, nowhere near the Thames, had basements and ground floors completely ruined. One resident in Maida Vale, Angela, reported 58,000 pounds of damage to a ground floor flat that was more than 2 kilometers from any river.
58,000 pounds?
Yeah, and she was out of her home for 11 months while it dried out and got refitted.
11 months. That's basically a year of your life on top of the money. Okay, so actually, let me jump to something I've always assumed. New builds. Surely they're built to a higher standard now? They must be safer, right?
You'd think so. There's a comforting logic to it, but the evidence just doesn't back it up. Between 2009 and 2019, over 84,000 new homes in England were built in areas classified as high flood risk.
84,000? How does that happen?
So planning permission for developments in flood zones can still be granted, even where the Environment Agency's advice is, well, it's considered, but then the local authority can comprehensively overrule it. And even the mitigation measures have limits, like some developments raise the finished floor level by 600 millimeters, which is fine for river flooding, but it does very little for surface water.
Because the water comes in other ways, through air bricks, through the drains themselves.
Through toilets and sinks, yeah. And even if your ground floor is raised, your car, your garden, your outbuildings, they're all still fully exposed. And if the road floods, you're effectively marooned.
Right. And then there's the drainage thing. What are they called? SUDs?
Sustainable urban drainage systems, yeah. They're supposed to stop new estates overwhelming local sewers. Great in theory, but in practice, adoption and maintenance responsibilities are often just unclear. You can have a brand new estate with a beautifully designed swale that still floods because the local authority never actually took ownership of maintaining it.
So nobody's mowing the swale.
Basically, yeah. And the key takeaway here is a property being built to modern standards does not automatically mean it's insurable at standard rates. You should always get a specific insurance quote before exchange, not just an estimate.
That's a really important point. Okay, so let's get into the insurance side properly, because this is where I think people really get caught out. The myth is my home insurance covers everything if I flood. I mean, that's what we pay for, isn't it?
You would hope. But this is where the financial pain often becomes most acute. Even a good policy will usually exclude or cap a whole list of things. Alternative accommodation costs, for instance, often capped at $25,000 to $50,000.
Which sounds like a lot until you're paying rent somewhere for 9 months.
Exactly. And then garden landscaping, fences, gates, hedges, usually not covered. Outbuildings and sheds, unless you've specifically declared them. Contents and cellars and basements. Cars, caravans, anything on the driveway. Loss of earnings if you work from home. The list is longer than people expect.
And the excess. I've heard the excess can be really different for flood claims.
Oh, massively. You might have a standard excess of $250, which feels normal, right? But then sitting alongside it, a flood-specific excess of $5,000 or even $10,000 on high-risk properties.
10,000 pounds? Okay, that would genuinely wipe some people out.
It would. And there's another thing that catches people, non-disclosure. It's the single biggest reason flood claims get reduced or refused. If you've ever had any water ingress at the property, even something minor, you must tell your insurer. I didn't think it counted is not a defense. And it could invalidate a $40,000 claim over an unreported $200 puddle from 3 years ago.
A $200 puddle invalidating a 40,000 claim? That's a harsh way to learn that lesson.
Very harsh. Does that make sense, though? Like, why insurers are so strict about it?
I mean, I get their logic, but it still feels brutal from the homeowner's side. So, okay, after a flood, what actually happens? Do they just rebuild it exactly as it was?
Pretty much, yeah. They restore it to pre-flood state. So if you had chipboard skirting and plaster walls, that's what you get back. Which means the next flood does exactly the same damage all over again.
Ah, that's depressing.
It is. But, and this is something not enough people know about, there are Build Back Better schemes that allow up to $10,000 towards resilient repairs. Solid floors, waterproof plaster, raised sockets. But many homeowners either don't know to ask, or they find the extra work delays their return home by weeks, so they just don't.
Which is understandable when you've been out of your home for months already. Okay, last big myth. Flood re. Flood re means I'll always get affordable cover. What's the catch?
So Flood Re is genuinely a good scheme. It's helped hundreds of thousands of households since it launched in 2016. It's a reinsurance arrangement. Your insurer still sells you the policy, but they pass the flood risk portion to flood at a capped price, which keeps premiums manageable. But, and this is a big but, it's not the universal safety net people assume.
Go on.
It has exclusions. Properties built after 1 January 2009, excluded. Leasehold blocks of more than 3 flats where the freeholder isn't resident, excluded. Bed and breakfasts, small business premises, purpose-built holiday homes, short-term lets, all excluded. Council tax band H in some circumstances.
Wait, so if you bought a new build in 2011, say, in a flood-prone area, thinking Flood Re had you covered?
You could be in for a really nasty shock. There was a homeowner in Doncaster whose renewal premium jumped from $480 to $2,340 after discovering her 2011 build fell outside Flood Re, with a $15,000 flood excess on top.
From $480 to $2,300. That's almost 5 times the premium. And a 15 grand excess? That's terrifying, honestly.
It really is. And there's one more thing people should know. Flood Re has a sunset clause. It's scheduled to end in 2039. The idea is that by then the market and flood defenses will have adjusted. Whether that actually happens is, very much open to debate.
So, if you're taking out a 30-year mortgage today, you're committing to a property whose insurability could look completely different before you've even paid it off.
Exactly that, yeah.
Okay, so given all of this, what should people actually do? Like, practically, if I'm buying a house or even just renewing my insurance, what's the routine?
Right, so there's no single source of truth, which is part of the problem. But a responsible check involves layering several sources together. First, check the Environment Agency long-term flood risk maps, and this is important for all 4 flood types: rivers and sea, surface water, reservoirs, and groundwater. Most people only check the first one.
I would definitely only have checked the first one.
Most people do. It takes less than 5 minutes to check all 4. Then, look up any historical flooding through the seller's TA6 form or a formal environmental search. After that, and I think this is underrated, just ask neighbors directly. 3 or 4 households on the same street. People will tell you.
That's actually really smart. They've got no reason to hide it.
No, they don't. And then get 2 or 3 actual buildings insurance quotes. Note any flood-specific excesses. And if you can, speak to a local surveyor about surface water routes on your specific plot. The whole thing takes about an hour.
An hour?
An hour. And when the average domestic flood claim is sitting between $30,000 and $40,000, with many claims taking 9 to 12 months to fully settle, that's probably the highest return hour of admin you'll ever do on a property.
Fair enough. I can't argue with that maths. And when you're actually getting quotes, what should you specifically be asking?
Don't just look at the headline premium. Ask about the flood excess separately from the standard excess. Ask if there's any claim limit specific to flood damage. Check whether alternative accommodation costs are capped and at what level, whether the policy includes resilient repair funding, and whether the property is placed through Flood Re or on the open market. That last one's really important.
And if 2 quotes come back wildly different?
Then one insurer is rating the flood risk very differently from the other, and that's a signal to dig deeper, not just take the cheaper option, because cheapest today can mean uninsurable in 5 years.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it. Okay, and beyond insurance, what can people physically do to their homes? Because I feel like there must be practical stuff.
Oh, loads, and some of it is surprisingly affordable. Flood barriers for doors and air bricks, typically $500 to $2,000 fitted. Non-return valves on toilets and sinks from around $150 per fitting. Raised electrical sockets, ideally 1.2 meters above floor level. Solid concrete or tiled floors instead of chipboard and carpet. Kitchen units with removable plinths so water can drain underneath.
And that actually makes a meaningful difference?
A spend of, say, $2,000 to $4,000 on resilience measures can easily reduce a flood claim from $40,000 to $8,000 and slash the time you're out of your home from months to weeks. Insurers are increasingly looking favorably at it when calculating premiums, too, so it can pay for itself.
Oh, that's actually reassuring. It's not just about bracing for the worst. You can genuinely reduce the impact.
Exactly. And one more thing. Sign up for Environment Agency flood warnings, free, by phone, text, or email. It gives you that critical 30 to 90 minutes to move valuables, cars, pets. And talk to your neighbors about it. In areas that have flooded before, informal WhatsApp groups often share the earliest warning of drains backing up. That community intelligence is genuinely more useful than any official alert during a fast-moving surface water event.
I love that. The WhatsApp group as flood defense. Okay, Assad, let me try to pull this together. So, flood risk is not just about rivers. Surface water is actually the bigger threat, especially in urban areas, and 3.2 million properties are at risk from that alone.
Right.
New builds are not automatically safe. Over 84,000 were built in high-risk areas in a single decade. Insurance policies have way more exclusions than people realize, with flood excesses that can hit £10,000. And FloodRe, while genuinely helpful, doesn't cover properties built after January 2nd, 2009, plus it's got a sunset clause in 2039.
Yep, all of that.
But the practical bit, spend an hour checking all 4 flood risk types on the government maps, ask your neighbors, get actual insurance quotes and read the flood-specific terms, and consider spending a few thousand on resilience measures that could save you tens of thousands. Have I got that right?
That's exactly it. The gap between what people believe and what's actually true is one of the most expensive information failures in the housing market right now. But an hour of checking, honest disclosure to your insurer, and understanding what you're actually covered for is all completely manageable. The people who get burned are the ones who never checked at all.
Don't be the person who never checked. A sad thank you. That was genuinely eye-opening.
Thanks, Angela.
Quick side note, this guide connects with other cost-saver blogs, especially avoiding hidden costs with a home-running cost forecaster, avoiding flood risk surprises with postcode property insurance, and MEAS, Energy Performance Certificate C, and landlord mistakes and costs.
Exactly. And reading those together helps you connect the dots across your household budget, not just this one in isolation.
And if you want to apply this immediately, jump into tools like UK Flood Risk and Insurance Impact Checker, postcode right after this episode.
Primary sources used here include Environment Agency and Association of British Insurers, so you can verify the data yourself and stay evidence-led.
That wraps this cost-saver conversation with Angela and Assad. If this helped, share it with someone who could put these ideas to work this week.
Your next step is simple. Try UK Flood Risk and Insurance Impact Checker postcode. Then read Avoiding Hidden Costs with a Home Running Cost Forecaster and use them together to take action today.